Well, everyone wants to avoid a repeat of Katrina, but how different is the New Orleans of today compared to 2005? Well, joining us from Houston is Doug Brinkley. He's professor at Rice University. He's also the author of The Great Deluge. Doug, very good of you to join us today. How different is it now from then?
Well, it's a much safer city in many regards. There have been a lot of hurricane evacuation routes that have been made. Unfortunately, a lot of residents didn't come back, particularly the poor could not come back to New Orleans. Their homes have been wiped out, so it's a smaller city. You have better leadership with Mitch Landrieu as mayor, not Ray Nagin, and a police force that's vastly improved. If you remember last time, the policemen turned looters. But there's still, and most importantly, the levees have been fixed. Billions of dollars have been put in there. All sorts of new pump houses that are going to have to work. So the big question now is, did this new system that's in place there, did it work? But what piece that has not been fixed is the disappearing Louisiana wetlands, which used to be the buffer for New Orleans. You had barrier islands that would take the hurricane blow, and then the wetlands, it was like a sponge, and would stop that surge from pounding on the floodgates, pounding on the levees. I'm afraid we haven't done much in the way of wetlands restoration, and so that storm's going to quickly hit New Orleans.
And Doug, you know, Mandy and I were chatting earlier, and she brought up a good point about the drought. And when the ground gets dry, water doesn't absorb, and it flows differently. Hard to believe just over a year ago, I was down there talking about the flooding on the river, now this. Do we know what impact the drought will play with the ground and the way the water will disperse?
That's an excellent point. And yes, it's going to mean that you're going to have a lot more flooding. The ground's not going to be able to absorb it. It's the depth of the wetlands. It's a longer conversation. But the Louisiana is still living on a lot of 1950s bad engineering. You asked about Katrina in 2005. What is now closed is the Mississippi River Gulf outlet. It was like a funnel effect. That was a channel connecting the saltwater Gulf to the freshwater Mississippi, and it had a devastating effect on New Orleans because the hurricane just pulled right up and then pushed all that water over the levees. That's been shut down, but the Mississippi River itself has been channelized, and the wetlands are not nourished, and what it just means is you have a dying wetlands ecosystem, no cypress trees, no natural environment to absorb this sort of amount of rain that's going to be coming. So you're going to find the streets of New Orleans, I'm afraid, terribly flooded. But the good news is that the levees, if they hold, the city should be able to recover much quicker than last time.
Just real
After
quick.
all this, at most looks like it's going to be a 1, not a 3 or a 4.
What has not been adequately prepared that perhaps could have been adequately prepared given the experience and the time?
I think the city's pretty well prepared, but they don't really have the hospitals in the kind of shape they want if you're getting a blackout. As soon as electricity goes off, people that need respirators or need life-enhancing machines for asthma, other things, and they stayed, they're going to be in grim problem because it's 90-some degree heat, and life gets tough. And then also, it's unclear whether the police force is ready to deal with the problem of crime if the city gets blacked out.
Doug, thank you so much for your insights. He was joining us there from Houston, by the way. Apologize, stupid Australian living in New York City, where it is pronounced Houston.
No, it's also our street in New York. I would mispronounce Melbourne.
Apologies to everyone. Coming up next.